When my best friend Daniel called and said, "I'm leaving her today," I thought he was just angry. He and his wife, Emily, had argued before. They'd separated once for 2 weeks and somehow found their way back together. But this time was different. "I can't do this anymore," Daniel muttered as we loaded the last box into his truck. "She deserves someone better." I frowned. "Then why are you walking away?" He stared at the steering wheel without answering. The divorce papers had already been signed. The house, once filled with laughter and weekend barbecues, now echoed with silence. As Daniel drove away, I stayed behind to make sure Emily wasn't alone. She sat on the porch wrapped in a gray sweater despite the warm afternoon. Her wedding ring was gone, leaving a pale mark on her finger. "I brought you dinner," I said awkwardly. She forced a smile. "You didn't have to." "I know." For a long moment neither of us spoke. Finally she whispered, "Everyone keeps asking if I'm okay." "You don't have to answer." She looked at me, eyes swollen from crying. "The truth?" I nodded. "I don't know who I am anymore." That sentence hit harder than I expected. Over the next few weeks I visited often, not because I pitied her, but because no one else did. Neighbors chose sides. Daniel's family blamed Emily. Emily's relatives lived 3 states away. She was completely alone. One evening we painted over the bedroom walls together. Another weekend we fixed a leaking sink. Little by little the sadness inside the house faded. Then Daniel called me. "I heard you've been spending a lot of time there." "I've been helping." His voice turned cold. "Helping, or replacing me?" I nearly hung up. "You left her. She's still my history." "No," I replied quietly. "She's a person." Weeks later Emily finally laughed for the first time. A real laugh. The kind that made you forget she'd ever cried. That night, while we sat on the porch watching rain fall across the yard, she looked at me. "I've been afraid to ask something." "What is it?" She hesitated before whispering, "Would you stay?" I froze. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because saying yes might cost me my oldest friendship forever. Part 2, Choosing Love Over Loyalty. The rain continued falling as I stared at Emily. "I'll stay," I finally answered. "But only if you mean tonight." A tiny smile appeared on her face. "I do." We spent hours talking. Not about romance. Not about Daniel. About fear. About starting over after your entire future disappears overnight. For the first time, I realized Emily wasn't asking for a boyfriend. She was asking not to face another lonely night by herself. So I stayed. On the couch. Nothing more. The next morning Daniel was standing outside. Someone had told him my truck was there. His face burned with anger. "I knew it," he shouted. Emily stepped between us. "No, you don't." Daniel pointed at me. "You betrayed me." I looked him straight in the eye. "You abandoned her." Silence. Then Emily spoke with a calmness neither of us expected. "For years I begged you to stay when life got hard. You always left. You left emotionally before you left physically." Daniel's shoulders slowly dropped. For the first time, he had no excuse. Days later he called again. This time his voice was different. "I wasn't angry because of you." I stayed quiet. I was angry because someone else treated her the way I should have. It wasn't an apology. But it was honest. Months passed. Emily rebuilt her life. She returned to teaching. She smiled more. She stopped looking at the front door every time a car pulled into the driveway. One afternoon she invited me to the same porch where everything had changed. "I have one more question." I laughed nervously. "Should I be worried?" She smiled. This time. I'm not asking you to stay for one night. She reached for my hand. I'm asking if you'd stay for the rest of our lives. Tears filled my eyes before I could answer. Yes. A year later, at our wedding, something unexpected happened. Daniel walked toward me. Everyone grew silent. He held out his hand. I almost lost my best friend because I couldn't be the husband she deserved. I shook his hand. You found the courage to admit it. He smiled sadly. And you found the courage to stay. Emily joined us, slipping her hand into mine. In that moment, none of us were celebrating a broken marriage. We were celebrating what can happen when kindness refuses to walk away. Sometimes the greatest act of love isn't rescuing someone. It's simply staying when everyone else has already left.